I walked out of my house at 63 with nothing but a suitcase, leaving behind 30 years of marriage, 2 daughters, and a secret that had just shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. What my wife confessed that night didn't just break my heart. It made me question whether anything in my entire existence had been real. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. I was 63 years old when my wife told me she'd been unfaithful. We'd been married for 30 years. 3 decades. I remember sitting in our kitchen that evening, the same kitchen where we'd raised our 2 daughters, and she said it so quietly I almost didn't hear her. There was someone else. A long time ago. I didn't shout. I didn't break anything. I just looked at her and asked when. 28 years ago, she said. It lasted about a year. The air went out of the room. Our youngest daughter was 27. Amelia and I met when I was 30. She was a school teacher. I worked in telecommunications. Nothing glamorous, just steady work that paid the bills. We married within 2 years. She wanted children right away, and so did I. But months turned into years, and nothing happened. We saw doctors. They ran tests. The problem was mine. Low count, poor motility, medical terms that meant I probably couldn't father children naturally. We tried IVF twice. Both times failed. The second failure cost us nearly $15,000 we didn't have. Amelia cried for weeks. I felt like I'd failed her in the most fundamental way a husband could fail his wife. Then, for months later, she was pregnant. The doctor called it a miracle. 1 in a million odds, he said. These things happen sometimes. Biology isn't exact science. I was too happy to question it. We named her Rachel. She had Amelia's eyes and dark hair. 2 years later, Amelia got pregnant again. Another miracle. We named her Sarah. I worked double shifts to provide for them. Weekends, holidays, overnight maintenance calls. I took every hour I could get. Amelia stayed home with the girls until they started school, then went back to teaching part-time. We weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable. The girls had what they needed. Dance lesson for Rachel, soccer for Sarah, good schools, family vacations to the coast every summer. I was a father. That's all that mattered to me. The affair, Amelia said, happened when Rachel was a baby, a colleague from her school. It started at a workshop, continued for about a year, then ended. She said she'd been lonely, that I was never home, that she'd made a terrible mistake. She said she carried the guilt for 28 years and couldn't carry it anymore. I asked her if Rachel was his. She didn't answer right away. That silence told me everything. I don't know, she finally said. I never tested. I didn't want to know. I stood up from the table. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. I went upstairs, packed a bag, and left. I didn't say goodbye. I drove to a motel off the highway and sat on the edge of the bed until morning. The next few weeks were mechanical. I rented a small apartment, filed for legal separation. Amelia called every day. I didn't answer. The girls called too. Rachel left voicemails asking what happened, why I'd left so suddenly. I texted back, ask your mother. Sarah came to my apartment 3 weeks later. She was 25, married, 6 months pregnant with my first grandchild. She sat across from me at my small kitchen table and said, Dad, Mom told us everything. I waited. She told us about the affair. She told us about the uncertainty. And Rachel wants to take a DNA test. She needs to know. I nodded. That's her choice. What do you want? Sarah asked. I looked at my daughter, my second miracle. I want the truth, I said. The test took 2 weeks. Rachel came to my apartment alone on a Tuesday afternoon. She had the envelope in her hand. She was crying before she even sat down. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry, Dad. She handed me the paper. The words blurred together, but the conclusion was clear. Probability of paternity, 0%. Rachel wasn't mine. 27 years of birthdays, school plays, graduations, her wedding 3 years ago. None of it had been built on truth. She kept crying. You're still my father. You raised me. You were there for everything. Biology doesn't change that. I wanted to agree with her. I wanted to feel that unconditional love everyone talks about. But sitting there, looking at this young woman who had my last name but not my blood, I felt something crack inside me that I didn't know could break. "I need time," I said. She left. I sat in my apartment as the sun went down. 2 days later, Sarah came back. She didn't have an envelope this time. She didn't need one. But she sat down and said, "I want to know too. I need to be sure." Part of me wanted to tell her no. Part of me wanted to believe that at least one miracle had been real. But I couldn't stop her. She had the same right as Rachel. Another 2 weeks. Another envelope. Sarah opened it in front of me this time. Her hands were shaking. She read it twice, then looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. Probability of paternity, 99.97%. She was mine. One daughter. Not two. Amelia filed the divorce papers first. I didn't contest anything. She got the house. I didn't want it anymore. We split the savings. She kept her pension. I kept mine. 30 years reduced to paperwork and signatures. Rachel tried to maintain contact. Sunday calls that became monthly calls that became birthday texts. I responded politely. I never stopped loving her, but something had changed that I couldn't repair. Every time I saw her, I saw the lie. I saw the year of deception. I saw every moment I'd worked myself to exhaustion for a family that wasn't completely mine. Sarah understood. She didn't push me to reconcile with Rachel. She just made sure I stayed in her life. When my grandson was born, I was in the delivery room. When she bought her first house, I helped with the down payment. Money I'd saved from the divorce settlement. Rachel wasn't at those moments. And that was my choice. 3 years after the divorce, Amelia called me. It was late, past 10. I almost didn't answer. "He died," she said. "Who?" "David, Rachel's biological father." I waited. He had a heart attack last week. He was 68. Rachel went to the funeral. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because he left her something. In his will, he acknowledged her as his daughter. Left her $50,000 and a letter." I hung up. Rachel called me a week later. I answered this time. "Did Mom tell you?" she asked. "Yes." He knew about me the whole time. Dad. He knew I existed, and he never said anything. Never reached out. Never tried to be in my life. He just watched from a distance. What did the letter say? That he was sorry. That he was a coward. That he respected you too much to interfere. That he knew I had a good father. I didn't respond. "He was right," Rachel said quietly. "I did have a good father. I still do, if you let me back in." I thought about 30 years. I thought about every scraped knee I'd bandaged, every school event I'd attended exhausted from work, every father-daughter dance, every time I called her my little girl. I thought about the man who created her but never raised her, who'd hidden in the shadows while I'd done the hard work. "I need more time," I said. I'm 67 now. For years since everything fell apart. Sarah's son calls me Grandpa. Her second child, a daughter, was born last spring. I see them every week. Sarah's husband is a good man. He works hard, comes home, shows up. I respect that. Rachel and I have coffee once a month now. Started about a year ago. We don't talk about the past much. We talk about her work, her husband, her life. It's cordial. Sometimes it's warm. It's not what it was, and it never will be, but it's something. Amelia remarried 6 months ago. A retired principal she met through the school district. I saw the announcement on Facebook. Sarah told me Amelia seems happy. I don't ask more than that. I live alone in a small house near the water, paid cash from the divorce settlement. I wake up early, drink coffee on the porch, watch the sunrise. I volunteer at a veteran center twice a week, administrative work, nothing dramatic. I stay busy. People ask if I'm angry. If I hate Amelia for what she did. Honestly, I don't know anymore. Some days I do. Some days I just feel tired. She made choices that broke something I can't fix. She stole years from me. Years I could have spent knowing the truth, making different decisions, maybe even walking away when it still would have hurt less. But I also know this. I raised 2 girls. One is mine by blood, one isn't. I loved them the same for 27 years. That wasn't a lie, even if everything else was. The love was real. What I do with that now, that's up to me. I chose Sarah. I chose the truth. Some people think I'm cruel for keeping Rachel at arm's length. Maybe I am. But I'm 67 years old, and I've earned the right to protect what's left of my heart. If you've stayed with me this far, subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the hardest truth is better than the most comfortable lie.